My name is Keli Iles-Hernandez. I am an associate attorney in the family law matrimonial department and also the fertility law practice group. So I came into being an attorney because I worked with children in the foster care system, and I decided that I wanted to be an attorney for children. So a lot of my focus is on the child's position in terms of when there's a divorce going on, and helping the family navigate that and understand that the choices that they're making can have lifelong results on their child. I also am a full believer of counseling my client, telling them the truth and making sure that they're making informed decisions. Because during a divorce, it's a very stressful time, and they're likely making decisions that are high stakes, and they're under a tremendous amount of stress. So I always advise clients to have somebody to lean on, a counselor, a friend, because it gets a whole lot worse before it gets better. So my approach generally is to connect with the client and to help guide them through their process of divorce, or in terms of fertility, helping them guide them through the process of starting a family, or finding a match for a surrogate, which is part of the fertility law portion of my job. So, as I had stated before, I worked with children in the foster care system, and I didn't actually realize at that time that children had lawyers, but I thought it was something that was interesting, and I wanted to represent children, which I do. That was my primary focus for going to law school, and obviously family law is suited for that. So I represent adults as well as children. I thought that it would be something that I could advocate for children on their behalf, and I do, which is what interests me in family law. So there are a lot, but my most memorable, the one that stands out the most, is the very first private adoption that I did. So there was no agency involved. It was just a family who found somebody who was wanting to give their baby up for adoption. There were a lot of difficult times throughout the process, because the mother had some social issues and ended up incarcerated for some time, was missing for a while, so we weren't sure it was going to actually happen. When she finally did give birth, I didn't realize at the time that I actually had to be the one to go to the hospital to sign the baby out. So it was a sort of an interesting thing to do as an attorney, and I have been in contact with the family ever since. The child is 4 years old. It was a very successful match, and the family is doing great. So I spend a lot of time outdoors, spending time with my family. I enjoy gardening, the usual. So I think my advice would be, in terms of a divorce, is to think, I always tell people to think before they start the process when they come to me. So I advise them, and obviously if there are situations where there are safety issues, that's a different thing. But when it comes to starting the divorce and separating, I do tend to ask people if they've tried couples counseling, because the issues that they come in with aren't always going to get better by simply living in separate households. So trying to navigate those, and even if they're not successful in counseling, perhaps they can be better as divorced people when they move forward. So in terms of a legal tip, I think I just like to have people make informed decisions before they start a legal process, because when it comes to family law, they're not your typical litigants. They are people who are going to have to coexist moving forward, especially if they have children. I mean, if it's just two people who are married, they may not have to see one another, but in most cases, they're going to be involved in one another's lives. So, treading lightly, being cautious, and trying to get to the root of some of the problems, because simply just divorcing somebody isn't necessarily going to improve your communication, or it's likely going to get worse before it gets better.